I view that time through a different lens and outside of my own shoes now.
Yeah. I feel like when we were associated and you were my boss, I feel like I was, and again, I'm not under you now, so I can't say
Sure.
what's changed and what's evolved. I feel like I was working for a Phil that was figuring out, and also kind of who didn't necessarily want to be a boss. Like, I feel like you were...
After after a certain number of people, yes, that's incredibly accurate. I feel like I thrive with 5 to 10 people.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense, and that's kind of how it was. And I didn't know the frustrations behind the scenes for you and stuff like that, but Sure. It was more of a, I'm going to keep it as separated as I can because you were also doing your own thing while trying to figure out the new thing. Anyways, I think you were learning back then, and whether it was prior examples from other bosses or what preconceived notion of what a boss should be, I think you thought a little bit of a heavier hand was the way to go because that's what bosses do.
I kind of want to expand on that. When you say heavier hand, like in what way? Because this maybe is helpful for me now. Because it's like I'm me. I don't get to see me.
You were a very swift with criticism.
Definitely at that time, yes. And I would say way more passive aggressive at that time.
Yeah. And publicly.
Yeah, no. So that's because that Phil around that time would passive aggressively tweet anger about something that had happened internally, which is like not a thing that you fucking do.
So, I mean, you saying that is like that fucking sucks for employees because that creates an environment of like, what the fuck am I going to do?
Yeah.
And it sounds like you've learned, so there's no reason to go to it, but you were that person.
Yeah.
Swift with criticism and not often presenting praise. So
yes, yeah, no, that's 1,000% accurate.
The environment that we had with you at that time was almost competitive. A competitive nature can be healthy, but I think you accidentally created a competition within the thing that you wanted to create and be successful. So you had trouble, I think, with building up the success of that thing while also building up the success of your thing because they were similar, maybe.
Sure.
But yeah, I feel like you were learning and you're figuring it out. And I think becoming a father and being a business owner for a longer time seems to have helped. Again, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that would be kind of one of the bigger changes of the last, God, it's been so many years. But kind of looking for any reason to give people praise just to counterbalance just criticisms. I feel like that's because otherwise it's kind of like when you're in a relationship and you're like, I love you. You're great. Everything's good. But it's like, no, but I need you to fucking say it. I need you to like show it in other ways. So I totally get that because in a way it is very much a relationship because you're with those people almost more than your everyday family. So no, I definitely... Yeah, I agree.
And I think struggling with realizing that you are, and this is not just a you statement, I feel like I probably struggled with this at times too, but all new bosses as well. You were reluctantly a leader. And I don't think you understood that people were looking towards you as a source of inspiration.
I'll say that I still struggle with because I have such a... I live inside of my head. I'm a hypercritical person of myself. So I'm in that way, I think I'm very self-involved. And so it's like an active effort for me to like kind of step outside of that, 6 to 8 hours of shooting that show and then do the extra step. But I think as far as if I compared then to now, it's drastically different unless you're being ridiculous about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, at the end of the day, you did provide an example to me through that at times because it did affect how I would go forward being a leader as well, because I saw where those moments that I just presented to you that were kind of a little rougher around the edges.
Sure.
I made sure that I learned from that and tried to not do those things moving forward. And again, probably to the point with my own faults of I probably need to be more critical at times because it's also just as important to let people know where they're doing it wrong. I just do it with a soft.
Totally. No, because then sometimes things that shouldn't be done happen. And then sometimes there's waste. Sometimes there are things that detrimentally hurt the company, but everyone felt good doing it. But then at the end of the day, it was actually a net negative. So yeah, I think we feel each other on that, because I totally think what you're saying is valid. It's also easier to say that it's valid because I very much perceive who I was then to be to a different Phil.
I mean, let's turn it around. What were my failings while I was there?
Well, I didn't find out until years after even SourceFed was done that you were inherently like angry and not happy about stuff. Like that never really came to my attention. And that's obviously not the entire time of where it was just kind of like you were at the company, but like actively talking shit about it, which everyone vents. I don't fucking care. But I think when I say that I get a little bit of a joy of seeing everyone in the other, like in a role where you have to sometimes be the shitty person, or it could be perceived as the shitty person, just so everyone can get a little bit of a taste. I will say this to you. I think that you're probably a way better leader than me. I think that it's just, as far as like characteristics and traits go, I think that you're built for it more. But yeah, because it's very easy for me on the opposite end of it to, because like kind of you said, resent. It's very easy to start resenting things, because every day I would see like the numbers of what was happening, and like feeling like all like my heart and soul that I was throwing into the show, which this is based off of a decision I made to sell at the time, was being drained. And I was essentially just I felt so shitty. I was like, what am I doing with my life? For like these kind of things that weren't making money. And it to me, it felt like this passion project that, and it's blind to like what you guys were experiencing. It was like this passion project that 20 people got to do, like cool in my head. They got to do this like more fun, cool shit. And it was like at my expense. So I think there's probably like this underlying like resentment that then leads to the cold stuff, and it all kind of spirals. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's the communication thing, right? Like that's the biggest thing, is that we weren't talking
at all. No.
At all. And if we were, it would be at these high fucking emotional moments where it's like Phil and Joe are going to have a conversation for the first time in 6 months behind a closed door. So yeah, communication I think is the key of it. I think you're right. Definitely got bitchy, and that's just a lesson for everybody, is that to not go high school, but it's so fucking hard at times.
Sure.
I think my angst, most of that angst, was towards the end, like you said. Not even to make excuses. I could have communicated better. At times I tried. It wasn't just you. By that point, you were pretty separated from it all.
Yeah.
Some of the, again, I don't want to bitch about it, but you're right. There was anger and resentment on my side.
Yeah.
Needed to communicate it more. The times that I did, and that's just a growing up thing. Like I probably shouldn't have stirred the pot as much as I did at times. But that's just learning to be professional, just like you're learning to be to be a better boss and leader. Discovery was there. Other people, HR, blah blah blah. Not to get into the weeds too much, because I don't want it to be an excuse. I want to own up to it. I think you're right. I don't know what else to say about it. Unhappiness happens.
Joe, that's my favorite way every conversation should end.
You're right.
You're right, Phil.
What was the other one? That's the other point that you also make a very good point when it comes to the other side of the coin, is that we didn't see the stresses and the thoughts that you had, because we weren't talking about it on your side, and we had this dream scenario, like you said, coming from your side, which may not have been a dream scenario at times for people. But it's true, because I've been on the other side now and have had a cast of people where it's like, why are my thought immediately going to, do you have any problems at all? Because you have this great job where you get to be funny, and people are behind the cameras making videos of you and editing for you. But then you forget there's like 7 layers to every situation. And
that everyone has different experiences. Like I think taking some of the old crew that stuck around with me after SourceFed was shut down, and then seeing how they interact with people that are new, that never had that experience that never had like the transition experience of us trying to just like bum it in an Airbnb or, you know, and then you're like, you don't even realize. And so then it's like trying to get these people from two different worlds to gel together or not have like those kind of feelings because you're not in those other people's shoes. You don't have their experience. So I think that's unfortunately and positively the thing that that time gives you is that perspective that you lack in the moment.
Right.
But the unfortunate thing is you don't get it until after. Everyone can fucking say it, but yeah, until you're going through it.
It's literally, it comes down to that fucking word, is that word, communication. It's even with the three of us at Valley Folk now, it's like a lot of the problems that we'll have, it's just, let's just sit down and talk. And it takes time and it takes effort and it takes away from other things, but it's so fucking important. And
I think probably most importantly with that is it takes the desire for there to actually be like an end conclusion where you all exist together.
Yeah.
You know, and and you don't always have that with everyone.